Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and I'm so excited to have one of my friends and collaborators, Dabney Lawless, here to help me discuss the current astrology as well as what we may be seeing come up in the new moon in Taurus and the Taurus lunation cycle. So, Dabney, please introduce yourself to everyone for anyone who does not know who you are.
Hello, thank you, Celeste. So, yes, we're going to talk about how crazy the astro weather is right now and really through the end of April. Hopefully, we'll get a teeny bit of a break in May. And yeah, I have my own astrology YouTube channel where I welcome Celeste all the time called Lawless Astrology. And you can always sign up for my newsletter at lawlessastrology.com. And also, I have a course that is coming up that is astrology for really, really beginners or non-astrology people. So that's live now. So there are 5 recorded classes, lots of bonus material. And then one of my teachers, Steven Forrest, is actually going to be doing a module. So he's a legend, and we're going to have a couple live classes, and it's going to be great. So
How
that's my little plug for my course.
Absolutely. That sounds fantastic. And I'll put Dabney's links in the caption or whatever you call it, the description below. And so let's set the stage for where we are right now. We're in the end of eclipse season. And what would you like to share, Dabney? Just any high level thoughts you have about where we are right now as a collective, as Americans, as humans on this earth, whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever comes to you to share.
I think that there's just been a vibe shift, which has been nice because the planets have moved direct. So we have Mars that has moved direct, we have Venus has moved direct. Mars is now officially in Leo, which is a much more comfortable place for Mars to be. It's been in Cancer for God knows however many months, where it was languishing and miserable. And as a Cancer, I can say that it's nothing wrong with Cancer, but Mars in Cancer is not the happiest Mars.
So why
And
don't
so
you take a step back for people who are more beginners? So what does the planet Mars represent? How does it function in Cancer versus Leo?
absolutely. Okay, so Mars has been retrograde, meaning it appears to move backwards. And so we've been under this influence for months. And it hit, gosh, when was it? I want to say it was like since summer. I think since like summer is when we started this dance between Cancer and Leo
Well,
with
in September, Mars entered the sign of Cancer,
okay,
September
thank you.
2024, and then and then it went into Leo right before the US election.
Right.
So it was at 0 Leo on the day of the US election, I
And
believe.
Mars has to do with our action. Mars has to do with our assertiveness. Mars has to do with our desires, our wants. Really, nothing would get done if we didn't have a Mars, because Mars is the thing that says, I'm here, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to take on whatever area of life that is in. And so when Mars is moving forward and it's a sign that it likes, a fire sign like Leo, there's this sense of progress. But when it's in a sign like Cancer, Cancer is nurturing. Cancer is emotional. It's about the feelings, it's about the protection of the youth. So Mars is like, let's get going. And Cancer's like, but I don't want to. There's a little bit of like this. I remember when I was doing a video about Mars and Cancer, I saw this little girl waiting for the crosswalk. And she was, like, I don't know, 5 years old maybe. And she just was doing that, like, oh, I don't want to wait. Like, that's sort of the energy where it's like, I don't wanna. And so, but Mars is like, I wanna go. And so Mars has been doing this dance and it's been retrograde. So it's been having to really think through our emotional world. And so now it's moving forward. For a long time, it was also out of bounds, which meant like it was kind of out of control. So it was sort of like this tantrumy energy that we were all sort of either we were feeling within ourselves or we were fielding it from other people or the collective. There's just this kind of collective energy. And now Mars is now back in bounds. Mars is moving forward and it's in a sign that it likes. It's in the sign of Leo, which is about leadership and action. And it's about the king in a lot of ways. I was talking to someone about that, where it's kind of this kind of regal energy. And so there is this sense in recent weeks, recent days, that new leaders are emerging. So we have Neptune also leaving a water sign, leaving Pisces, and entering the sign of Aries. And right when that happened, we had Cory Booker step up to the plate and tell everybody, this is not okay. And so it's almost like we kind of started to find our chutzpah again. We found our voice, we found our courage. Like suddenly there wasn't like this victimhood or this paralyzation or this deer in the headlights, which is what I think a lot of us have been feeling like, oh my God, what's happening? Like everything's falling apart around us. That's very Piscean energy. Now, when I say that, that doesn't mean Pisces all feel that way. It's a collective feeling that Pisces is the end of things. Pisces is the culmination on the collective scale. And so high Pisces is very spiritual. It is very an opportunity to connect with the divine or spirit. But oftentimes it can be a little bit of a nightmare when it's in the collective, because we're dealing with a lot of different people, a lot of different emotions. And so having Neptune in Pisces, we saw and that was there since 2011.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a lot of energy around things like astrology and tarot readers and psychics come into the collective consciousness. We saw a lot of new movements for compassion around people who may have different identities than us, like the transgender LGBTQ movement and Black Lives Matter. I mean, a lot of those things are a rise in compassion and understanding for people. Even the Me Too movement. But then there was also kind of a flip side of that, which was more and more people felt like they were victims. And I think that that victim consciousness was kind of contagious, justified or unjustified. And so now we have Neptune moving into the sign of Aries, and there's no victims in Aries. It's like, no, just get up and move your butt.
Yes, I feel like Neptune and Aries is like be your own hero, mythic heroes rise up. Yes, that's what we're seeing. Yeah, enough with the victim stuff. If that can sit down. Yes.
Yeah, and I was talking to someone else this weekend, and she brought up the fact that Neptune is the sign of the oppressed.
Mm.
And so those people who have felt oppressed
Pisces,
have
the
felt,
sign of the oppressor.
yeah. And so, well, Neptune and having it in Pisces, there is this kind of double whammy of feeling oppressed. So no matter what side of the political aisle you were on, you felt oppressed. You felt like somebody else was out there, and that was kind of that division that was being sowed, right? And now with Aries, there's a much more individual path where people potentially will be taking more responsibility for themselves. And there's this opportunity. That's the higher opportunity,
Mhm.
is what's worth fighting for. Are you willing to fight for the oppressed? What are you caring about in your life? And are you willing to fight for it?
Hmm. And with what we're seeing on the collective level or in the United States, it's like everyone is at risk of being oppressed if we're not following the rule of law, which is why the stories that are taking on such an important um, prominence have to do with violating the rule of law, like grabbing people off the streets and sending them to an El Salvadorian prison with no hope of release
Yeah,
is.
and you start to see people fighting back and fighting for other people's rights, fighting for all of our rights.
Mhm.
That's kind of the higher end of Neptune and Aries, is the recognition. in some ways, you know, we think of selfishness as a bad thing, but inherently, survival is a selfish thing. Like that's you have to be somewhat selfish to survive. And that's very American, to be honest with you. Um, but
Yeah.
I think there's some value in the sense that if you recognize, oh, if this person's rights can be taken away, so can mine. And
Mhm.
I think that's where the like wake up call, you know, you heard Joe Rogan say, okay, fine. Let's say this guy's a bad guy. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you're all rah rah, we're sending him to El Salvador. But what about if there was a change in administration and they just want to, with no proof and no due process, declare that you're a gang member? And then they decide they're going to do that to you. Is that okay? And so it takes some of the duality out of it. And it's like, oh, wow, if that could happen to me. And those are the kinds of conversations that I don't think were happening even a few months ago. For people to put the pieces together for their own survival, they may have to step up to the plate to fight for other people's rights.
Ah, yes, absolutely. I'm glad Joe Rogan said that.
I'm
Yes.
really happy to hear that too. And I think we need to have more of our leaders go on his shows and explain, because he has such a broad audience,
Mm,
and not all of the audience is MAGA, right?
yes.
So,
Yeah.
you know, hitting those people with hard truths, which is what we're going to be coming into, which we're not going to talk too much, I don't think, today about Saturn going into Aries, but that's going to be happening at the end of May. And that's another big turning point.
Yes. Yeah. We're still like, still in just the, well, I think I'm feeling that the Neptune, which went into Aries on
The 30th.
the 30th of March, and Neptune's about belief systems. It's Neptune idealizes, it glamorizes, it's the planet of illusions and delusions, also deception, but it's so wonderful getting it out of the sign of Pisces, where as it went through that last 29th degree, I'm calling that non-potable water. And it's like if you've been drinking the Kool-Aid about something, it could be about anything where you just had these beliefs, it was like pop the balloon when because Neptune inflates in some ways. It's that
Yeah.
dispersal energy. And the fire is like, okay, let's get down to reality and deal with what we have here. And yeah, what you're saying. What are you
I
willing to
just feel like
fight
we're
for?
getting our groove
Yes.
back a little bit. You know,
Yeah,
or our mojo. Do you remember what were those Austin Powers movies where he said that his mojo was gone? I feel like our mojo has been gone. And it really did have something to do with that Neptune and Pisces, where we were just all sort of giving up. And that was, you know, all of these things come into play. Pluto is in Aquarius right now. That's playing a role, but you know, before the election, Pluto was in Capricorn, Cancer, you know, Mars was in Cancer, Neptune was in Pisces. It was like
a
a
different world.
it was a different world. And so we've now been in this kind of beginning of the new world where it's like someone took the card table and flipped it up, and like all the pieces went everywhere, and no one knows where they're going to shake out. But I think that's part of this process, is we don't know where it's going to shake out, and we have a couple other big things coming in this kind of new world, new paradigm shift that will, I think, continue to clarify the waters.
Mhm.
And I do believe that the positive reaction that I have seen from good people once Neptune went into Aries gave me some renewed hope.
Oh, good.
And there is a renewal with Aries. There is a renewal.
It's the
Now,
first sign of the zodiac. It's
people, you know,
spring.
people had such high hopes for Neptune and Pisces, as did I. And I can get kind of down on it because this end piece really did suck. I'm not going to lie. But if
That
I
29th degree is hard to travel.
It's
True.
hard. It's really, it is the falling away. It's the falling apart. It's the dissolution. And I think that's it. It's like the 29th degree, even of like, Taurus or Scorpio is going to be different than the 29th degree of Pisces because that's really the end of the zodiac, right? Because it's the 12th sign and it's the very end before we start a new cycle.
Mhm.
And so getting into a little of this new cycle felt liberating, I think, for many of us.
I think
And so
so.
I did a video this past weekend that I released, and it got such positive feedback, like to the point that it was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? So many people were craving something to hold on to. Some because there has been like on YouTube, I watch YouTube astrologers too, right? There has been a little bit of doom and gloom. And especially if you watch like political videos, there's so much going on that it feels like you feel helpless. You feel helpless
Mm,
and hopeless. And so I think we need to come back to this sense of faith and trust. And that's one of the other things that I can talk about that's happening now is
oh, let
that,
me can I pull up this chart for,
yeah,
we just had a last quarter moon. We had a new moon. When we talk about the moon cycles, we have something seated at the new moon. And this new moon was a solar eclipse in Aries, the first sign of the zodiac with this renewal energy. And then a week later, we have a first quarter moon, which is a time of action. And then we have the full moon, the culmination. And then the last quarter moon is the crisis of consciousness, where we integrate what has gone before it. And let me show the chart for this because I think this will be helpful. This is oh, how did I get it wrong? It's yeah, yesterday was the last quarter moon. And it's really, I feel like it's an important last quarter moon because we have here set in Washington, D.C. So we're looking at the United States. We have a Scorpio rising. So this really feels like the last quarter moon is the psychological integration, the crisis of consciousness. And we've got this moon opposite moon in Aquarius, speaking about the collective, opposite Mars, exactly. Look at that. 112, 112, 112. So there's this T square between the sun in Taurus, the moon in Aquarius, and Mars in Leo. So this heart-centered fire being reactivated within the collective is one of the things I'm seeing with
yeah.
this.
And the thing that I was really honing in on was that Venus, Saturn, and the North Node are all at 26 of Pisces. And so Venus is our relationships. Venus is how we is our money. It is things of beauty and luxury. And Saturn is accountability and structure and hard work. And the North Node is, where we collectively want to go right now, like what we're being asked to do. And they're all in Pisces. Now, I was talking about some of the shadow of Pisces before, but here I'm going to talk a little bit about the higher expression of Pisces, which is love for your fellow man. It is love beyond um, sexual love or partnership love. It is that kind of bigger understanding that we are all one. And it is compassion. And it was interesting because we had Pope Francis pass away at
Mhm.
this time. And, he was someone who definitely embodied putting structure around compassion. He embodied reaching out to people who were potentially seen as less than. He advocated against genocide. He advocated against, um, you know, treating migrants disrespectfully. So I think that there was really a powerful lesson with this. I think that was, a part of his parting gift to us all was, kind of really delving into this conjunction and understanding how this can transform our own lives. There is a degree of forgiveness. There is a degree of reaching out to other people that may not share our same level of compassion, but having compassion for them. And also remembering our own authentic self and that we are all connected in some way. So
Yeah.
I think that was something I think very powerful. And that was the thing yesterday that I just noticed that people wanted to have, it was a renewal of faith.
Hmm.
They wanted to have faith in something again. There's sort of a waking up to the fact that we can believe that that we can have a better world,
Yes, and
right?
I love how you said it was his parting gift. So the Pope is a very Venus and Pisces figure who
Brilliant.
is empathetic, loving, compassionate, and you talked about his last speech being the parting gift, and he also had one of his colleagues, I don't know what you call it, in the papacy, but talked to the vice president of the United States who was there about how the administration's actions have caused devastation around the world and encouraged him to be more compassionate. So that was also, I don't know if he got through, but that was also something that the Pope left us with. And then Saturn ends things. Saturn is death, the Grim Reaper, the boundaries, the limits. And so the Pope passed on, and Saturn conjunct the North Node. The North Node is an amplifier and it has associations with groups, and like people around the whole world are mourning the loss of this Neptunian religious figure who was a pioneer and courageous in his own way. He broke boundaries at the church and all sorts of stuff. You see Venus sextile Uranus as well. So really the symbology of the Pope dying the day before that Saturn conjuncted the North Node, or hours before Saturn conjuncted the North Node, and this
And
group mourning.
I want to just throw in a couple other things, and then I want to switch on this chart to another subject that
Mhm.
shows how these energies can express in so many different ways. So another fun little thing is right. So before his death, like on Easter, he took like a little ride in the Pope Mobile to like say goodbye to everybody. And like Mercury and Aries, that's definitely like the Pope Mobile. That's like
Mm.
that is like that's a final goodbye. That's like say, like it rules transportation and it's Neptune is there. So it's like he found his energy. He found the energy to like do what he needed to do before he left, I guess is what I would say. So, but I did want to sort of also say that there was the second big story that came out was about our defense secretary,
Mhm.
and there was a second signal chat. Now, he is been alleged to be quite the drinker, to have a drinking problem, and that's very Piscean. And here we have Pisces with Neptune, excuse me, Venus, Saturn, and the North Node, and also Neptune and Mercury. Frankly, they're all kind of sitting within conjunction on some way, even though these are all in the exact same degree. He had a signal chat with his wife. There's his wife. Here is the screw up. Here's the accountability. Here is the communication signal. Okay. Mercury, signal, computers. And then here's Neptune, the denial, the complete like denial that this is like a problem. But the North Node, with all of this conjunct, tells me that there may be some accountability here. Like this was like all going to have to come out at some point. And Saturn and the North Node are saying, okay, we've got to address this.
Yes, and there was someone from the Pentagon who actually had been one of his friends or associates, wrote an article or did an op-ed about how the Pentagon has been in absolute chaos and
And
it
falling
is
apart.
it is falling apart because this person who was elevated, Venus in Pisces, he was given this gift, this job. He's unqualified. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's causing a lot of problems and hardships, whether it's about his drinking or just he doesn't know what he's doing or what
Right.
have you.
There's the chaos of Pisces. And then here's the Mercury with in Mar or in Aries. That's like the sharp words. That's the like, kind of coming back to like, stab you in the back, someone who he thought was his friend, but he was in denial. That, and my guess is a lot of this is coming as a surprise to a lot of people like who elevated this person and himself, like because this would indicate kind of living in a delusion state of mind. So anyway, and then the kind of sudden surprise with that sextile with Uranus. So
Mhm.
so you can sort of see how like the positive aspects can come through and the negative. And so you can also look in your own life and think about what happened yesterday or what's happening now and look at how it interacts with your own personal chart. Are there truths that you're maybe not wanting to see, hard truths? Are you kind of in denial about a relationship, but or also is that someone stabbing you in the back? Or have you found a new level of forgiveness? Did you have kind of one of those days yesterday where you kind of really recognize that we all are one and there's plenty of love to go around?
I love that you keep saying stabbed in the back, which is a very Mars and Leo. Mars rules sharp objects like knives, and Leo rules the back. And it's interesting because I called eclipse season watch your back, the solar eclipse in Aries, watch your back. So interesting how we're seeing this on the world stage that that's showing up.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and betrayal of relationships and lies. I mean, these are things that are the shadow, the downside of this conjunction. And it's not what's supposed to be happening. This is about, yeah, like I said, universal truth, compassion, love, being responsible, stepping up to the plate, defending those in need, defending those who have less than you.
Hmm.
That's kind of the high side of this configuration. And so uh that's an important one. And I think it's also the need for faith, again, renewal of faith.
Hmm. Absolutely. So I am definitely feeling, I mean, the energy was so heavy, but I am feeling more positive that yes, we are in these hard times. It's unfortunate that we have to go through these difficulties with this financial upheaval, with the damage that's being done to the Constitution and the rule of law and the all of the corruption, but I am feeling more hopeful that the battle over our beliefs, Neptune and Aries, will lead us into a place in the future where we get back to our core values. I feel like I'm hopeful that the Constitution is going to hold.
I think that was it. I think there was this sort of like no hope. And now it's almost like a remember. To me, it's almost like we are so mired in the shadow of our country and so mired in the horrors of the past, whether it be in this country or others. I listen to, just like a lot of people, I listen to historians who warn, and I think it's important to warn. And I think it's also important to then remember the good things. And that was something I had forgotten. I had forgotten all of the positive things. I had started to think in my head, like, oh, it was all a myth, it was all a lie, it was all a myth. And there's truth to that. But there is also some positive truths. And I've seen people stepping up.
Yeah.
I've seen people reminding me of the good things.
Yes, I mean, America, I mean, even though, yes, women weren't included, people of color, people who didn't have land weren't included in the Constitution in their front of their minds or whatever, but it's still the greatest experiment. um, I think one of the greatest experiments man, woman, whatever, people have embarked on to build this country where the people were centered rather than a king or a queen or any kind of royalty, and to be able to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's an ideal that is worth fighting for and worth honoring, that there is something really amazing that America has to offer, even though we're in our Pluto return, with everything being burnt down to the ground in order to be rebuilt. And the question is, how are we going to rebuild it? This 1930s repeat is not appealing to a lot of people.
Now, and we do have different, during the Depression, Uranus was in Taurus.
Hmm.
But by the summer, Uranus is moving into Gemini, and that's a
Yeah.
different energy. And so I think there is something as we get to these later degrees of Uranus and Taurus that we may be having even more financial problems. It may be, you know, the truth of the matter is we may have already blown it, you know?
Well, on December 6th, Mars stationed retrograde conjunct the North Node of the United States at 6 Leo in the eighth house. So the financial hardship is a signature of that. So the fact, like, we are seeing the astrology come to light, and this week is really crucial because we're finishing up that cycle. Um, Here, let me just show
And
you.
then, yeah, so then we should talk about the opposition to Pluto, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I can open that. Let's look at Mars. Mars.
And when
Mars.
I say we've already blown it, please know that I don't think anyone watching this channel has blown anything.
Uh-huh.
I think we all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. This is the Mars opposite Pluto. And look at how similar it is to this last quarter. Um, First new moon. Where's the last quarter? Oh.
Heck if I know.
Okay.
Oh, look at you. You're so
So look at this is the
fancy.
last quarter moon, and this is the last Mars opposite Pluto. And so, I mean, Scorpio rising, the people of the country, I mean, we're finding out secrets, but there's something that's really intense that's coming this week, I feel like.
Yes, I
We're
think that we all know that there's some shocks and surprises coming for us. I think that despite the fact that he was 88 years old, I think that was somewhat shocking to wake up and hear that the Pope had passed.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe it shouldn't be, but it was to me. I think that this Mars opposite Pluto, just for context for people, again, Mars is aggression, it's violence, it's assertiveness, but it is also the desire. It's a forward motion. And it's a little bit of a lower octave of Pluto. It's really hard to go up against Pluto. Pluto's the big guy, and Pluto is death and transformation. It doesn't have to be literal death, but it's an ending that must must take place. And what I was kind of equating it to with Celeste before we got on the phone, I read something by an astrologer, April Elliott Kent, that I like, and she used the word burning off. And I liked that because it reminded me of the metaphor, because there's also a T square to that sun in Taurus. And so it reminded me of the fact that this is a natural process. And when there are forest fires, controlled burns or out of controlled burns, sometimes you have to burn off the dead wood.
Mhm.
And that was, and that's the renewal. That's where the new seeds begin to be planted. And so, as painful as this may be, whatever shocks, surprises, um, volcanic eruptions or earthquakes, whatever kind of world rocking things happen in the next couple weeks, we can ground ourselves in some degree of knowledge that this is like that sort of destruction that allows for the new growth to take root and to be seeded. It is always challenging to go through hard times. It's always challenging to have any kind of change or disruption. But I think there, with that Pluto and Aquarius, there is a new vision that's being born that is saying no more kings, right? We've got Aquarius, and Aquarius is the people.
Yeah, we've got Pluto on our side. Look at this. Mars, here's the king wanting to make proclamations. It's in the ninth house. Maybe there'll be some new executive order that says God knows what. You have to wear pink on Tuesdays. Who knows? It would make a much sense of changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico. But look, the moon and Pluto are conjunct, fusing their energy. So I think I'm feeling power to the people with this energy, even though we're going through hard things. Um,
Yeah, and that doesn't mean there won't be financial disruption. I
oh
mean, I
yeah,
think
this could
there
be a total,
there could be a complete meltdown financially,
yeah.
and that doesn't mean it will last forever.
Mhm.
And it means that we need to rebuild in a new way. And that's, I believe, what comes out of the Uranus moving into Gemini is the new vision. We will be having a Uranian return once Uranus goes into Gemini here in the United States. So again, additional upheaval, but maybe it won't be as painful as it is right now. Here's hoping.
Here's hoping. But one thing I feel like with this could be something about, hopefully it's just we find out secrets,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Aquarius is the sign of technology. And I've been seeing things about how Doge left holes and that Russia may have gotten some of our information from when they were doing whatever it is they were doing. So this may be coming more to our attention this week. Also, just a little concerned about some kind of cyber thing. So it's a good idea to back things up and,
Yeah, we had
have
those big
enough.
solar flares last week that
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of disrupted some of things. I think that's the sort of energy that it is right now. It's intense, it's hot, it's high, but you don't have to feel that in your own world, I guess is the primary message. It's like if you're aware of what's happening, you're aware that, I think everybody understands the kind of chaotic situation that we're in right now.
Mhm.
But reclaim your faith. Like, do the hard work of having faith. Now, this doesn't mean
Oh,
like expect that everyone's going to do everything for you. But I think that this, as Saturn goes into the final degrees of Pisces, we have to hold on to faith that it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. And once we're
it's
on the other side of it, there will be some rewards.
Yeah, so just be aware. I mean, this is Saturn is hardship, it's discipline, it's controls, it's a crisis, and it's moving through the last degrees of the last degrees of Pisces. I call 29 Pisces non-potable water, where there's difficulties because it's switching into Aries on May 24th. So, what is the hardship? It may be around, it may be a lot of it may be financial because that's a big story from the Mars retrograde cycle, which is completing right now. And we're going to have some big shebang likely this week before April 26th. And Venus and Saturn meet for the third time on the 24th. So Venus rules resources, it rules money, it rules relationships. Yeah, and we'll see we'll see what comes up. But I want to pull some cards. Can I pull some cards for
Please do. I'm excited.
yes, yeah, for our what is the big story of I'm just going to pull three and then we'll look for the card underneath too. Okay.
So are you looking at the big story for the opposition?
For the Mars opposite, what is the big things that we should be on the lookout this week for happening in the collective? Let's see. I think I'm going to do six, three on the top and three below.
You know what? If I'm curious, I'm putting Celeste on the spot, but we're friends, so hopefully she's okay with it.
Oh, I'm fine with being on the
You and I
spot.
sh- you and I should do a live, um, a streaming where people can ask questions and we can alternate helping each other pull the charts.
Oh, yes, let's do
So
it.
if
Absolutely.
anybody wants us to do some live readings for them with a streaming, put it
Let's
in the
do it.
comments. Yeah, because
Uh,
otherwise, no one's going to see this. People have to comment and like and subscribe and share
yeah.
and
Yeah. Okay. So one,
sign up
two,
for
th
my class.
Mars opposite Pluto. Okay. So I've got six cards here. Mars opposite Pluto. What do we need to know about what's coming? So the first row, ah, I think uh
What do we got? Don't leave us in suspense.
okay. Mm. Betrayed and backstabbed. So we know we know the story about Pete Hegseth has been
In the
this to
news.
me speaks to that. And then the next card is taken by force. So what I feel like Venus Saturn, which we've been dealing with, it's also like a hostage situation. It's like
Ooh.
I've been getting hostage situation a lot. And so people may be feeling like a hostage in their own life, either in their relationships, like if you've been cheated on, and you're still with this person, you feel like, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. There was an Aries solar eclipse, and Mars opposite Pluto may be your drone strike, where drones are mercurial, where you may say to the person, we're done, and eliminate this hostage situation for yourself can be coming. But this also can be, what better way to get the military story about Signalgate off the pages than start up trouble somewhere. So this is quite possibly something going on somewhere.
So were the cards drone strike? Was that literally one of the cards, or what
It
do
says
they?
drone strike.
So I mean, I think that we have to understand this isn't just in our own
Yeah.
backyard. This happens all over the world. So, and so the drone strike, that was part of what was going on with the signal chat,
Mhm.
but it also could indicate additional strikes elsewhere or
Oh,
like it could be China goes after Taiwan, or I mean, I'm not saying that, or it could be like an escalation
yeah.
in Ukraine. And then you said the other one was backstabbing.
It's the first card is betrayed and backstabbed.
I mean, we were just talking about that. And that's the other thing too, is a lot of people are starting to turn on this administration very vocally, quickly. I was just in a meeting where someone was talking to some billionaires who were no bueno, not happy about what's happening. And so, they still are the gatekeepers. They still are that Plutonian power. So,
Well, they feel betrayed and backstabbed, and they're being taken by force because of what this administration is doing, destroying trade, destroying visitors coming to the US, destroying
yeah, I
the
think all of those
financial
parts are
markets.
pretty right on for what could happen as far as, or what is happening. Because the Mars Pluto opposition in my mind is already under influence. It's just
Hmm.
not exact yet.
Oh yeah, any day now because Mars transits can come in early. I think by Thursday there's going to be something big, and then this drone strike. Now, this may be verbal in some places, but it may be like an actual. We know Russia, and
A lot
Gaza
going
and
on
all
around the world.
this. There's so much violence going on. Plus, we're throwing bombs at the Houthis and whatnot. But yeah, that's the first row, and then the second row is health matter. Now we know the Pope has passed, but there are other people who are very elderly around of of influence that could have some kind of health matter. I've been getting this coming up. Yeah. Classified knowledge. It's been known
Quite
that there's
literal.
a
Yeah,
health
with
matter, and then
steel
darkness outage. So this could
these are crazy intense.
They are intense. Now, this could be a power outage like Cuba, not Cuba, was no,
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico lost all power. So this could be something related to that. It could also be something cyber, which is, I've been thinking something big cyber might be coming. Now, it could also be someone
Having
who's
it. Who
elderly may exit stage left or not elderly. It could even be some kind of, you know, there's energy for assassinations with Mars opposite Pluto. Not saying that to scare anyone, but there is.
just health or like, someone might pretend like he has 4% body fat, but we all know better. So
Yeah. And let's just look at the card underneath. Oh my God.
what do we got?
Returns to normal. So maybe there's
No,
a,
you didn't. Is
huh?
that what it says?
It says returns to normal.
Oh my God.
So there may be a health crisis and then there's a return to normal. But this, what I think this means, and I'm taking this to mean, yes, we're in this crisis. Everything's upheaval, but the Constitution's going to hold. I'm just going to go with that. Returns
Well,
to
we also did have the Supreme Court issue that midnight ruling, which was a break from, that was kind of like a little bit of backbone. So, things can
which
collapse.
ruling are you talking about?
The ruling where they said they could not ship another batch of migrants
Oh,
to a
yes, yes.
and they were in the bus be going to the airport and like literally the Supreme Court was like, no, except for a couple people who all right.
Yeah. I
Let's just
would love
say
this return to normal. No, you cannot send people to Dante's Inferno
with no due
with
process.
no
And
due process. So
you know, I think that's really awesome and gives people a little something to hold on to. I think when I see all those cards, if I'm not psychic, but if I was, I would, predict that this is kind of like the big climax of a lot of the crazy. So we can clear out the brush fire. Like you're in the middle of the forest fire, but once the ashes settle, like you've got to then go pick up and clean and you've got to make sure that all the animals that were hiding have survived.
Yeah, this gives me some hope, which I really love. And,
I do too.
this whole thing is happening. We're having this dramatic climax of Mars opposite Pluto. Dun, 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 dun. The night before a Taurus new moon. So we're waking up into some new reality. I was thinking it may be financial, but it's health or wealth
Yeah.
because Taurus rules health and wealth. And here's the new moon. Wait, here's the Taurus new moon. Does anything jump out at you? Okay, it's in the eighth house, but kind of putting its energy on the ninth house because it's within 3 degrees. But look at this Virgo rising. We're talking about health matters. Is it the health of the economy? Is it the health of a person of influence? We shall see.
There's still a lot of similarities because, we've still got that zero Aries for Neptune, and we've still got the conjunction of
Mhm.
Venus and Saturn. So the Venus Saturn conjunction is going to be a tough one for financial markets. Once that moves
Yes.
off, maybe there can be some relief, but I wouldn't say this is an awesome time for buying the dip. Um,
Yeah. And look at Venus is at 28
Again, not
Pisces.
a financial astrologer. Please do not take my advice for entertainment purposes
Yeah, this is
only.
for entertainment only. So Venus is exalted. Look at Venus. She's besieged between Saturn and Pisces, like a like a
Saturn and Neptune. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Saturn and Pisces and Neptune and Aries.
Yeah.
Besieged is like between hostile forces. Um, so you think about money, oh my God, money going up in flames because Pisces is exalted and then Aries is in detriment. So
And
Venus
she's
is having a
coming to that
tough
last
time.
29 degree, right? She's at almost 29 degrees, which we've talked about as the final end before something new starts.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, April 30th, she moves into Aries and then meets Neptune a day or so after that. So, it's going to be a little bit of
little
a
dicey.
rocky start. You know what? And if we look at the Sibley chart, this moon is square the nodes.
And this is the 27th, yeah? Yeah.
Yeah, this is April 27th. Can you believe? Almost, how is the time going so fast? So look at this.
That
This is
Mars right
intense.
on
This is really intense because see,
the
a
North
Taurus
Node.
new moon in the fifth house. The fifth house rules entertainment. It rules pregnancy, like fertility
Fertility.
rates. The administration just said today they're planning to do something to encourage people to have more kids. Uh, it's very interesting. Maybe there'll be some new law about or new something. You get $15 if you have another kid or something. 15 or
Yeah, like big
1500, whatever. It doesn't really
big
matter.
whoop de doo. Right, exactly. I think it
But
was 5,000, but either way, it's like a drop in the bucket for what a child costs.
yeah.
But fifth house to me, that was individuality. And
Hmm.
that was the card I picked was know your worth.
Ah,
So, there might be something there, but yeah, I think through the rest of this month is some intensity, but I love that you picked the return to normalcy on
yes, it's
the
underneath it all. So don't keep hope alive that and have heart-centered having courage, I think is a big thing facing these times. But look at we're squaring the nodes in the financial houses. So I
And
think
the
there's
Jupiter is right on our on the Sibley Mars. So
yes.
there's kind of this like blowing up, like big energy around the masculine and like, machoism and it's in Gemini, so it's like communication. And so it's like this kind of telling a story about, US aggression, but Jupiter can get carried away. Jupiter
Mm-hmm.
can really get carried away. So Jupiter's empowering our natal Mars right now.
Mm-hmm.
But by summer, Jupiter's going to be in Cancer, totally different energy. And it's going to hit our Venus, Jupiter, and our Sun and Mercury, totally different energy.
Yeah. Mm. Yes.
So by
Well,
summer, I keep predicting that summer we're going to get a break. I hope I'm right.
I hope so too. Yeah. But this is really interesting because on October 9th, Jupiter stationed to go retrograde at 21 Gemini, conjunct the Mars of the United States. So, are we going to find out some new information? Is some truth going to come to light about some kind of attack Mars on Gemini topics? Mm,
Gemini's not always the most truthful sign either. The shadow
yes.
of Gemini can be lies.
Yeah.
Or as they say, what do they say in all of the baseless, instead of calling something a lie, they call it baseless. But I would say Jupiter on Mars and Gemini could be exposing of some lies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. This is intense. So we'll see. I mean, the market's still going down, down, down. This could be like the market picking up speed to some kind of thing, but we'll see.
We don't
Hopefully,
know what we really don't know. Like that is one thing I hope that we can leave you with is that
we have.
there are so many different expressions, but what I can tell you is that I have noticed when signs change in when planets change into new signs, you can get that vibe shift no matter what. And then you can kind of see where the energy is trending if you pay attention. And so I think you'll start to see more optimism in these reports. I think there maybe is a vibe shift rather than like, be careful, it's coming. I'm sort of hopeful for the vibe shift when
Yeah,
we
I
get.
think this week we could be waking up in a whole new world next week. I really think so, where something big things have changed. And I'm hopeful, yeah, part of it will be that return to normalcy.
Yes, so that's it. Return to normalcy and know your worth. Those
Yeah.
are two important things that, don't despair. Know your worth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And I should say that this is Trisha James predictions deck. So this is the first time I've used it on a video, but I've been working with these cards a little bit. And one of the things that they predicted was a rulership handover. And we're going to be seeing that with the Pope. I think the new Pope who comes in, it's going to be very interesting the timing of when they're selected. I wonder if the conclave will start around April 30th or soon thereafter. That can be the Venus, like the competition for the next representative of the church. It may start while Venus is at 29 Pisces. But I'm hoping, I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know if I love the idea of a new pope with Jupiter and Gemini. I would be happy if it took till June 8th
With
so that we could have Jupiter in Cancer for the new pope. Hopefully that would be positive. They would be like a
yeah,
positive person.
I
We'll
don't
see
know.
what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. Well, anything else you want to share about this? It's been great talking to you.
Yeah, it's always fun to sort of just jam on the current events and astrology with you.
Yes. So tell people again where they can find you and about your course and anything else you want to share.
Yeah, so you can find me at Lawless Astrology on YouTube and lawlessastrology.com. And then my course, Celeste is going to put a link below. And really, it's $79 and it's a beginner course. So if you already have astrology knowledge, take Celeste's class. But if you're like, all of this is Greek to me, I try to break it down into like very easy to digest chunks. And I've been getting good feedback.
Oh, good, good, good. Yes, I'm sure it's excellent. You're such a great astrologer, and Dabney's channel is amazing. She does a lot with history and talking about previous cycles, as well as interviews some of the most fabulous people. She's been selected to speak at UAC, the United Astrology Conference in September of 2026. We'll both be speaking there, so I'm
So
excited about
fancy.
that. So
Fancy.
thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching. I'm Celeste of Astrology by Celeste. My podcast is Celestial Insights, which is available everywhere and helps you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Take good care.